Hey everybody! Sorry if you if that if that log on and log off threw everybody off a little bit. For a second, I thought I was logged in on the Misfits on Main account, so I got on and I was like, "Wait a second, am I even on the Zaddcrew account?" And I was trying to figure out how to easily check that, and I couldn't. So we have Will Talks Disney joining us today, and prompt as always. I'm adding him right now. And bringing up the notes.
Hey.
There it is. Oh, I like the shirt.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. So we'll hang tight a second, Will. We'll let people come in. I know I started this up right at 5 o'clock, which normally I've started a couple minutes earlier. So today I was like, I really, really hope we don't have any problems.
I know. I saw your first video live go through. I was like, it said unable to join. I'm like, uh-oh, what's going on here?
Yeah, the first one, I was just telling people I logged in, started the live, and earlier today I was setting up a post on the Misfits on Main account. And in the back of my mind, I was like, am I even on the right account right now? So
it's hard to keep track of these things.
I'm gonna log out real quick. I'm gonna double check. Yep, okay, we're good. And I was on the right account. But I could have been sitting there for a really long time waiting for you if I was on the wrong account. So I figured I'm better to double check.
Yeah,
so we'll hang tight. We'll let people come in and get in here. Obviously, for those who are already in, we are talking with Will Talks Disney, and there was a lot of very fun things to talk about. Some stuff I didn't know about you. I'm glad you gave me a little bit of a prep sheet because one of the things that we're going to talk about is that your account is a feature account.
Yep.
And so there isn't a whole lot of Will nuggets out there. So it's kind of cool to really get to know you behind the scenes and talk about some passions of yours. And above all else, I know what it is like. We use the hashtag Zaddcrew. I know you know this. We use the hashtag Zaddcrew, and I know what it is like to sometimes feature some photos. So I'm kind of curious what the process is as to how you decide what to feature. So, like I have with everybody else, let's introduce you, and the best way to do that, I think, is reading your bio.
Awesome. Okay.
So you start off. There is a link. I always say this because I copy these and paste these. You are a personal blog, Disney dad and husband. Want to talk Disney and visit all the parks, and that is definitely something that we're going to do is talk some Disney. Next trip, June 2020, and I like how you threw these in there.
For sure, for now.
Yeah, I think we can, for you, we'll sit there for the episode with our fingers crossed. Bills Mafia and Hockey Enthusiast. So we'll cover most of those things, but the unique to you thing, we kind of covered it, is you are a feature account. Who's taken to featuring what I consider to be a lot of the great photographers in this community, some of which I already see that are in the chat, and I know will be hanging out with us today. How did you start? Where did the process come from? Why did you decide to be a feature account?
Yeah, so originally I started my account, I want to say almost a year and a half ago. Posted pretty much every day for like the first little bit, but then I don't know, I just lost. I feel like a lot of times in social media, we just seem to like go through ebbs and flows of like good times, bad times. Sometimes it doesn't always work. And then towards like the end of that, I reposted a photo that I really liked by one of my photographers. It started getting a lot of traction, and really, I guess in a position where I see a lot of different photographers like yourselves, and there's a ton of different great photographers out there that I don't always know if everyone knows about them. And recently I've tried to switch on my photos, because I would say before I would go through and just try to find photos that I really like, and then there'd be like a thing like, well, how many likes did it get, all this other stuff, and all these like vanity metrics that really don't matter, because and it's hard because I'm trying to move more towards just putting photos that I like, that I think other people will like, some smaller accounts, some bigger accounts, some accounts that I think will help make people's day that much better. And really it's just kind of a mixture of the day, following some of the trends of like the different hashtags. So like your Slinky Dog Saturdays, Spaceship Earth Sundays, and then really because most of the photographer accounts are obviously the ones that people are obviously taking photographs of. And I try to bring in some international parks and different things like that there. So at least from like a metric standpoint, some of my photos that get the most traction are ones from like Disneyland Paris. And they're like, I would say before I started the account, I didn't really appreciate how beautiful the Disneyland Paris castle is. And so I haven't ever been there in person, but it's just such a beautiful castle. And it's like, well, if we love ours, they love theirs. I think it's just an easy way for people to see new accounts that are out there, kind of help grow the community. Because this community is amazing. There's so many different people in here, from photographers to everyone else to vloggers. I think it just helps spread the word, bring new people in, and different things like that.
And I think one of the important things on our end that we can do, because look, the advantage for you, if I call it an advantage, and we'll get into the process, is you don't have the catalog that you're going to have to go through your own photography and edit. Yeah. Slight advantage. Now the disadvantage is you have a process to picking. Yeah. But on our end, what we can do to help you out when you're featuring something of ours, and this is a big thing that I always try to do when I get a photo feature, is to share it with our audience that you have featured our photo. Because what it does is that's like that sharing mentality of almost like when you were doing baseball card sharing back in the day. Do you know what I mean? Like you share your cards with other people because other people then get to see other cards. And I tell my friends and follower base, hey, look, I got a feature over here. They then go over to your page and find 2 or 3 other photographers suddenly that they are drawn to and inspired by that they weren't following. Yeah. And so, on our end, as a thanks, I mean, commenting on the post is always great, but, as a thanks, anybody out there who does get the opportunity to be featured, look at the account as a whole and say, wow, like, they really go out of their way to feature really great artists and photographers and videographers, and I'm going to do my best to kind of pass that on. Because I know for a fact there are people who have found my account because I've been featured by you. Or today, for instance, you shared that you were coming on here, and a couple people came over and were really intrigued about the fact that you were coming on. So it's that community piece. I know there's a lot of people in chat that agree with that, but really make sure that you share that you were featured in your stories and try to pass the word on, because that's how these community accounts grow, and they can build up their base and help other photographers.
Yeah, I think it's the community mentality, right? It's in this world where everyone's so competitive. A lot of us, from either like growing up in school, you're kind of taught, hey, try to go to the best colleges, try to do all these other things, and it's always focus on yourself. When really, if you look at anyone that's ever been successful, it's all by building a community. It's all by using the help of others. We don't do it alone. And so I always try to put everyone else out there, obviously with my account, and then it helps grow the community in a whole, and it helps show other people that may not have seen. And I always try to make sure that when I'm doing anything, that I always tell everyone, these are not my photos, these are everyone else's photos. If you like my photos, I show probably less than 5% of what someone's doing. And so you really need to go and check out that person's account, because there's so much more there. And it's hard because in just these little 1x1 inch squares, you can only get so much. So it's where you start following people, you start seeing their lives, their other stuff they're doing. You really get to know the people. And that's where I've just found, and it was probably my first like aha moment that this was starting to click, was I shared one of JC's photos, and like instantly he gave me a thank you and then added me back. And I was like, holy crap. Like someone added me back. And I was like, I'm just a guy with like 400 followers, just showing an account or sharing a photo that I liked. And I was like, wow. And then that's where I started getting more deep into this whole community. And everyone's awesome. It's great.
Yeah, I'm kind of scrolling through your feed right now, and it's entertaining to me, because it really is. A lot of it is a who's who, and a lot of photographers that have inspired me or others. I see the iconic reflection shots of Ernie. I mean, there's so many stuff. There's so many different things that are featured across your page that you're right. But one of the things that I do appreciate is that for the most part, I can look at a photo and say, hey, I bet you that's a so-and-so's photo. And then when I look it up, sure enough, oh, that's Brian from Princess Photo Factory. So something else that I really appreciate is that you do your best to make sure that the photo represents the person that you're putting up, so that it is the best representation of that photographer, and gives them a really good snippet.
Yeah, I think it's one of the things on like any social media platform. So one of the guys I also follow is Gary Vaynerchuk, who always talks about like if you want to gain more traction, the more people that are on it, there's just less bandwidth. So if you have someone that's following 1,000 accounts, the person they interact with the most is usually who pops up first. So it's like you only have a couple of shots to even get on people's feed. So it's like the better photos you put on, the more likely you're able to help spread the community. And so it's really gone from things like that to just, I guess my selection process has never really been too analytical. I would say most on like most other things, I'm good with Excel and love numbers. But with this, it's just, I really like the photos that just like bring me back to Disney. It's like you see a photo, you can smell what's around there, you can hear the music. It brings you back to those moments. And those are the photos that just, and I guess I'm out there just trying to make other people's days better just by giving them a little piece of Disney in their life.
So totally going to throw you on the spot here as we're cruising down your feed. Do me a favor, explain this photo.
Oh God. This one's actually from 10 years ago. 10 years ago this past weekend. That was from my cousin's wedding, who just got married 10 years ago. So that would have been, let's see, I think I'm 32 now. So that would have been like early 20s, Will, at a wedding. So that was a ton of fun. And
doesn't look like you're having fun at all, man.
Oh God. And that's, so at the time that was I think she was my girlfriend, but now my wife and mother to my 2 kids. So yeah, she's been there for the long haul too. So no, that was a fun night.
Speaking of the Ernie reflection shot, I did tease it, so we'll show it on your shared on your feed. So as I said, it's one of those things that I do really appreciate. I know that I'm on here. I was looking for it, but I didn't. I bookmarked all. You know how I am. I didn't bookmark myself. I bookmarked everybody else. Yeah. But I know that I'm on there, and it was one of the first things that made me kind of look at your feed very differently and say, wow, like I think that's a photo that I would hope well represents my style of photography. You know, if somebody looked at my feed and was going to pick one of like 5 photos, you did. You would pick one of the ones that I would hope somebody did. And then I looked at the way that you did it with other people. And it's awesome. It's really cool. There we go. Here it is. I was going to say, I knew it was here somewhere. I'm really proud of a lot of parts about
that photo is awesome.
Because the timing that went into it, the planning that went into it, there's a lot about this photo that I was really proud of. And it's not something I've ever told anybody. That's not like a conversation I've had or ever said to somebody. I'm super proud of, you know what I mean? But you picked it. And that was one of the ones that you highlighted. And so that meant the world to me, because that is one that I would say, hey, if you were looking at my feed and said, I didn't do a lot of editing to that. There was true photography that went into it. So it just meant a lot that was the one that you picked. So from somebody who's been featured, thanks for putting in the work to really make sure that you try to represent us the best you can.
You're welcome. It's been really fun, just even like going on the process of seeing all the photos and then learning just by talking to people, like all the work that goes into those photos. So like even like the reflection shots from like Ernie, who's like a master at like just putting his phone down and taking the reflection off of those, and like how much work goes into all these photographies. And that's why I love seeing the stories of like the behind the scenes of like when the guys are taking pictures of each other, like taking the photos, because there's so much work in a lot of the comments I get. Well, how do you get those empty park photos? How do you do that? And it's like, well, people are staying there 2 to 3 hours.
Laying down in the middle of Main Street.
I know.
It's, you know what though, and this is the cool part about it, man, is the fuel, and I speak for all the photographers that are in here, because I know that any of the guys and ladies that are in here, I think Ashley Marley's still in here, any of the people that are in here now who shoot photography, give me some hearts for, we love putting in the work when it is appreciated by somebody to the amount you appreciate our work. So any photographer in here who feels that, smash the hearts for me, because I'm dead serious. Those are the things that keep us photographers really inspired to keep going, when somebody really sees and appreciates that, hey, like this guy is highlighting what we do. And I just, yeah, man, it means the world. It really does. So
Yeah.
now let's talk. There we go. There are the hearts.
Yeah.
They always take a second because of that time difference.
Yeah.
But boom, there they are.
Yeah.
You got to love the IG delay. But yeah, I truly, I think I speak for everybody that when a feature account shows the love to us, it really keeps us inspired to keep doing it. I'll lay down in the middle of Main Street for empty park shots because I know it's appreciated. Has nothing to do with the likes, has nothing to do with the amount of comments. It just has everything to do with the appreciation. So thank you for just showing appreciation for it.
No problem.
All right, so let's talk a little bit Q&A about you because you have a bit of a Disney history we got to talk about. So like we're going to probably reach right up to the hour mark on this one. This will be one people will have to come back and watch in full too because you obviously went as a child.
Yeah.
But the real thing I want to highlight is you're a college programmer.
Yes. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about A, childhood, to B, college programmer, and then that whole experience.
Yeah, so growing up as a kid, my dad was in the Air Force, so we always used to go and stay at Shades of Green, which if you haven't ever been to that resort, so it's the military resort on Disney property, but absolutely amazing, beautiful grounds. It's right across the road from the Polynesian, so you're basically a Magic Kingdom resort, but I think at the time you were paying like $100 a night or something crazy cheap, and so the rooms are huge, and we just went as a kid, and I just remember going on the trips and kind of whenever we would go, say we're going for like a week, my dad would basically give me a day, my brother a day to like plan. And so it started from there of just going and like trying to plan all the activities for the day, like what rides do we do, what food do we do. And we would probably go like once a year, maybe once every other year and things like that. And it just grew. And then when I went to college, they had one of those presentations where they said, hey, we're recruiting for the Disney College program. So I went to a small upstate school called Niagara University, and we're big in hospitality. So one of the things they had there was they really like people from there. And so they have a great college program where most college programs, you don't get college credit. But the way they had ours, you had to take 2 classes when you were down there. And then you also had to write a paper. So you got 12 college credits. So you didn't lose any time for being down there at Disney. And so I did my program. Now I feel really old. It was, let me see, I think it was fall 2009. So this previous was
you feel old.
I know.
Okay. Yeah. Easy, Tiger.
I know.
If I was a college programmer, I probably would have been like 2002 or 2003. So.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Here I was like, maybe he'll be close to my age. Nope, still 7-8 years older than you. Great. Go ahead.
I think I got you beat on the gray so much, but I think,
you'd think that until I do this, sir. But yeah. You wear the silver fox well.
Thank you.
Normally, I'm a little bit better groomed, but I don't know if you know this. We're in isolation, so they're cutting down on barbers.
Yeah, my wife was like, "Hey, you actually showered today?" I was like, "I'm working from home, and it was the weekend. What am I supposed to do? Where am I going? Nowhere." So I went down to the college program. So I lived with 5 other guys. So we had it was 2 people per apartment, and the really cool thing was usually if you work for Disney, you kind of choose a specialty. So it's like you're either doing merchandise, quick service, full service, all these different things. My program, I did quick service food and beverage. I had worked in like some McDonald's or something like that beforehand. So I just had some experience through college and get there and they're like, okay, you're going to be working at the Wild World of Sports. I'm like, great. Great. I go all the way down here. I'm working at a sports complex.
That doesn't see a whole heck of a lot of activity.
No. So that's where it was almost like a blessing in disguise because whenever they didn't have any events down there, they would deploy you. So we do weeks at the different parks. So whereas everyone does one role, one location, I worked every single park. So I got to go to Magic Kingdom, probably spent 5 or 6 weeks there, got to see the Utilidors, get lost multiple times, have to run through.
Just in time to learn the place, and then you had to move on, right?
Yeah, and then literally the first day they sent me out on like one of the carts by myself. So they send me out the furthest you can get, because basically everything, all the food and like the ice cream comes from Tomorrowland. And then basically you walk through all the underneath ground and you have to find your way out to Adventureland is where I was. And so I'm right in front of Splash Mountain on an ice cream cart, go to log into the computer, incorrect password. Try it again, incorrect password. Then incorrect password, like, oh crap, now I just got locked out. So of course I'm radioing, hey, it's first day out here by myself, nothing's working. And of course then here come the guests flowing through. Can I use my dining plan? No. You have cash? No. And then it's like, but there's other carts over here and there. So eventually someone got out to me, changed out the tablet or did something. And it was a good, interesting experience, because you see a lot of the good of Disney. You also see kind of some of the, where we also get competitive in the Disney space, where everyone's trying to get the fast passes, trying to get the best seats. So kind of one of the most interesting times I worked down there was Christmas. So I was there from
I
August.
cannot even imagine. Oh my Lord.
So I worked from August through the beginning of January. And I just remember working Christmas, and I was working, it was either a Christmas, I don't think it was a Christmas party, I think it was just a normal time. And so at that point at Disney, it's just ridiculously busy. And I was working at like the Tomorrowland Terrace, and because the seats are so limited, we basically had to tell people, hey, you can only sit down if you have a tray of food. You can't save seats, because then there's the flow of people there's not gonna be enough seats for everyone. And so then I had these parents come up to me, and of course it's 9 o'clock at night, so their kids freaking out. They don't want to be at Disney anymore. And it's just
Which is not sentences you'd ever think you'd hear, but it does end up happening.
Yeah. No, and you get like the Disney rage, where then here's this college kid telling you, no, you can't go past me unless you have food. The kid's like, well, I have a kid. I'm like, well, it's Disney. Everyone else has a kid here too. And they actually like try to ram me with the child, and I was like, oh God, what is happening right now? So eventually I let them through, but then my supervisor comes over and says, you can't let anyone through. You got to be stronger than that. I'm like, okay, time to buck up, I guess. But it was such a great experience. I would say even just doing something like restocking napkins and serving burgers and filling drinks, it's you get to see like the best of people. You get to see everyone on vacation having fun. And then even there, you can make these little magical moments happen for people. So it was my favorite experience that I've had as far as like a working experience, especially in college, because even though you're serving burgers and stuff, you're still having a great time.
Yeah. Is there anything about that you just say, does it make you look at Disney differently, having experienced that?
I think for most people, it goes like one of two ways. It either, once you start to see how the sausage is made, like you start to lose the magic, because then you see how everything happens. I would say it did the opposite with me. It made me that much more excited about the parks. It really reinvigorated my love of Disney, because there had been a time, I would say, from the end of high school to when I went to the college program, that I hadn't gone to Disney in a couple years. So it was just amazing just to be able to be there. And then on your off days, you get to go to the parks. And it's funny, even though you're down there, and it really shows like the people that are going to the parks daily or weekly, like you get spoiled in a fact where it's like, oh, do I really want to go through the crowds? Do I really want to do that? Do I want to go to Magic Kingdom, then to have to take the boat, then take the monorail? Or like you start, you don't appreciate it as much as when you're a little bit further away. So I would say that was like the only downside. Whereas I wish if I could do it all over again, I would have spent more time in the parks, done the different parties and things like that. But overall, I think it increased my love for Disney that much more. It made me appreciate all the customer service and everything that goes behind the scenes. Because at the time when I was down there, now this is 10 years ago, there was, I think it was like 65,000 cast members just in Walt Disney World. And it's another like 6,000 college program people. So, I mean, there's a huge workforce just to make our magics happen. So it's crazy how much goes into these things.
And you probably have a whole new appreciation for the cast members and what they have to go through to kind of make all that happen.
For sure.
You've been there, man.
You
live that life. You've been bumped into by strollers on purpose.
Oh, yes. Yeah, it's one of those things where you're trying to make the best for every guest, and you're trying to make the magic happen, but sometimes things go wrong and you have the guest recovery. So I think it gave me a better appreciation, like you said, towards the cast members and towards like everything that has to happen, like just even from like the simple like check-in processes. And I know kind of like with everything that's happening now, just I wish I could go to Disney and wait in the line or do something like that, or have my Disney Experience app crash and I have to reload it. It's just there's so much that
how many of us would take that 2 hour to 3 hour wait for Flight of Passage right now?
I know.
How many of us would just gladly wait 2 hours for Flight of Passage right now?
It's crazy. It's it was a once in a lifetime. I never did, because they have like they have a professional internship where they start to hire a lot of their management, which is good to see that a lot of their management has either started as a frontline cast member or has started through that professional internship program. So they really, you start off, like I said, I mean, a lot of their upper management have started off like either being custodial or working food or an attraction, and then just loved Disney, had a passion, and kind of worked their way on up. So,
sorry, I thought we had a baby starting to stir, but she's still asleep.
Oh yeah, I hear mine upstairs, and my wife's probably cursing my name, but it's okay.
We got. We're down for the count over here, thankfully. So.
Aren't you gonna be up for some late nights now with that going on, or well, she won't sleep through the night like this, or
so she takes 2 solid naps a day. Each is about 2 to 2.5 hours. Pretty good timing wise, and then she goes down for the night. See, it works for me because I'm up late working on media stuff and work stuff, so I'm up kind of late. She goes down for the night around 9:30.
Oh.
And then sleeps till about 8, 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
She's a champ.
Are you guys teething at all yet, or
what was that?
Have you guys started the teething process yet?
Yeah, so she's teething. As far as like mobility, she's up on all fours, but mostly she like prefers to be vertical. Yeah. She's like one of those kids that just likes to be like vertical and trying to be on her feet. She does not like the crawling idea. She rolls and moves backwards, but crawling is like not her gig.
Not happening, yeah.
So yeah, the timing works really well for these lives because normally between like 4 and 6 is when she'll be down. If not, and I have her here, it's normally because there's a problem.
That was for sure.
Like, I think you were actually in the live with Anthony Britt at WDW on Friday night. I think you were in there. And she's like she was having a meltdown. It's a live show. There's nowhere to go. Like, we're here, folks. We're living it through.
We're signed up.
Yeah,
exactly.
So about 15 minutes in, thankfully Dana got home, came walking in, and was like, "I got you." Like,
thank you, please.
Yeah, because Dana normally will clock in on these if she can, and if she's home or something, she's quick to try helping where she can. But that was one of those days where I was like, I literally even told everybody in the live, like, sorry, she was in her chair, she's in my whatever it was, she's in it, and it wasn't like she was crying or like freaking. She just was talking and having like a little baby, like fun fest. But anyway, so she's cruising through this one in La La Land, no problems. So speaking of kiddos, let's get to yours. But first came love, then came marriage. So let's cover those two things. Big parts of that love and marriage were at Walt Disney World, and I'm not going to steal the thunder. So tell those stories. Yeah.
So just like big highlights: engaged at Disney, married at Shades of Green on Disney, and then honeymoon at Wilderness Lodge. So it was my junior year of college. I surprised my wife with a trip. So luckily, after I did the college program, I still did some of the recruiting. So the best thing about the recruiting is you spent maybe 10 hours a semester, but then you still got all your cast member benefits. So I was still able to get the discounts. I still had passes to go. I still could get into the parks. So it's like, oh, you want to go to Caribbean Beach for 40% off? And then here's her tickets. I'm like, who cares? I'm a college student. Put it on the credit card. Who cares?
That's right.
So we went down, and we had been dating for 3 or 4 years at that point, and that was my trip to propose to her. And so I'd always seen people had proposed in front of the castle, or I've seen some really unique ones in front of the castle where they'll use the photo pass people. Where there'll be the person, their fiance is focusing so much on the photographer that the person gets down on one knee when they're not even noticing. So I didn't want to do something like that. So I did something a little weird, which I haven't heard if anyone's actually done this before. So my wife hates Splash Mountain with a passion. It's like my favorite ride. It's the drop. She does not like the drop.
Okay, so I have said a couple times that I do wish that there was a way that people could bypass the drop, because I think a lot of people would enjoy it a lot more if they knew that that wasn't happening. So I can understand that. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take all of the drama away. Yeah, I understand.
I should have prefaced with that first. So she doesn't like the drop. And then, so I know I wanted to propose to her on Splash Mountain. It was like one of my favorite rides. I remember going as a kid when Disney used to be open till like 3 o'clock in the morning, and just like going on at like 2:50 at night, even though it was freezing. And so I had all those memories. And so I'm trying to convince her, hey, let's sit in the front seat so we get a good photo, because, hey, I know what's going to happen. I'm going to propose to you on the ride. And she's like fighting. She's like, no, I don't want to go in the front seat. So here we are having like this blow up of a fight. And I'm like, whatever. You don't want to go in the front seat? We're not going to go in the front seat. And then, so she obviously won. And so we go down, like start going down the drops. And then we start going up the hill to like the big drop. So here I go, pulling the ring out of my wallet. And then we get to like near the top, and she's just like so focused on like the drop that's about to come that I turn to her and I say, hey, I love you. She's like, okay, that's nice. And I say, will you marry me? She goes, what? Looks, grabs the ring. And then I've never heard her scream as loud as she screamed before. I was about to say,
just in time to start screaming, no! But so we're go to the drop, man, not you. Not you.
I know. So we go down the hill, and I'm like, okay. Like you said, was that scream for the drop, or was that from the proposal? And it was, so we get down, get past the hill. Luckily, she did not drop the ring, which would have been an expensive mistake.
Now we're going swimming, yeah.
I know. Hey, Disney, can you find a ring? They're like, how would you find a ring? What's going on? And
Splash Mountain down for 3 weeks.
I know. And so it probably wasn't like the best planned one, but we get through, we start turning the corner, and I go, so was that a yes? And she goes, yes. And I tell her every time, I was like, if you would have said no, you would have been flying home by yourself. So you just would have been fine. So luckily she said yes. And then we kind of finished like the last couple of days, which the one thing that still bugs me to this day is I say, okay, we have to buy the photo. We have to buy the photo. I don't care. Let's just get the photo. We got engaged. And of course she was like screaming her face off and didn't want to buy the photo. So we didn't buy the photo, unfortunately. But I convinced her to go on our honeymoon, and we basically recreated the photo where we both had like our bride and groom ears on and everything like that. And then we bought the photo and then everything like that. So we got a photo. We don't have the photo, but no, it was I think it was a pretty interesting way to propose. You have the memory. Yes. Yes.
The way I proposed to Dana is very similar, except it was the two of us alone on Christmas morning, and I made her do the whole box unwrapping, box unbox, box, until she got to an empty box, and the very last box it was empty, and I told her, I was like, oh my, I started freaking out, and I was like, babe, that wasn't supposed to be empty, like your gift is in there, help me look for it, and she's like, I don't even know what I'm looking for. I was like, just stand up, and you will know when you come across this that, oh, that's probably, it fits in that box, like. And she stood up, and as soon as she stood up off the couch, I knelt down to propose. And I was recording this because I wanted my in-laws and us to be able to watch it. I went back and watched it. Let's just say we have the video, but no one will ever see it because someone was not very conscious of their backside and the high shirt and the low pants situation. So nobody can watch our proposal video because someone's back end is hanging out the entire proposal. So yeah, I kind of feel you on like the setup and things just not quite going the way you want them to go.
Exactly.
Thought that'd be a real great video for everybody one day, but nobody needs to see that, including me, ever again.
It's like we have memories, right? We have mental memories from this side forward.
That's why you have memories and not recordings sometimes.
Exactly.
Because life is not always as great as it looks in that 1x1 Instagram square, right?
Yeah, exactly.
A lot behind the scenes.
For sure.
So you had the next step. First the engagement. Then start planning the wedding.
Yeah. So we did we wanted to do a destination wedding. So we had started to explore some of like the Disney stuff. We knew by doing like a destination, we're probably going to have like 60 people, which ultimately now looking back, we had, I think it was right around 60, and it was like the best wedding ever. So it was kind of like I guess when you have like local weddings, you have to invite like the cousin, not cousins, but like the third, fourth cousins and everyone likes that. And before you know it, you have like 400 people, and people are running around like a chicken with their head cut off. They don't get to eat. They don't really get to experience it. Whereas here, because ours was short, we could still go through like all the different tables and do all that. So it was awesome. And the best part is we having Disney as your backdrop. It's basically a destination. So people basically plan their summer vacation. Although we did challenge the Florida weather gods because we got married on August 28th, 2013. I want to say, my wife's probably going to check me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's when we got married. So we got married in the like end of August. So hurricane, thunderstorm season.
Prime hurricane season.
I mean, luckily the day there was like hardly any clouds, no rain, no nothing, but we got so lucky. And Sage Green, like right across the road from the Polynesian, it's right on a PGA golf course. So it's like just beautiful settings. They did such a good job. And then kind of the greatest part was like we did a couple of days before, like we went golfing and we had people down there before. So we did like when it was downtown Disney, we kind of did all those fun things. So everyone got to kind of experience the parks, do different things. And now Disney's a part of their story and our story too. So it was awesome.
Yeah, Shades of Green you can't just get into Shades of Green.
Yeah.
You gotta. Yeah. So I have only visited once, and it's beautiful resort. It's stunning over there. So I can see that. That's a great area. And now that next point in life, man, you started as a Disney kid, and now you get to raise them yourself.
Yeah, it's awesome being a dad. Number one is like the greatest thing in the world. As
Agreed.
Much
agree.
Someone called it. I can't remember what they called it. It was like teenagers of like toddlers or something, like a toddler age or something like that. Now we're at the phase like where our oldest is 3 turning 4, so she's got like attitude, and now our youngest, who's 1 turning 2, has crazy attitude too. I mean, sometimes they fight, but you just love your kids. And the greatest thing ever was taking my daughter on like our first trip. So like I'm trying to think. So we went September, so she would have just been a little over a year old the first time we went with her. And so there we are, and we had done like the pre-park opening mornings at like Magic Kingdom. So we literally have her there in front of like the partner statue with no one behind her, just in like her little bell dress, just standing there looking cute. And it's really cool, and it's really hard to describe, I would say, just what it's like seeing Disney through your kids' eyes, and like how much it's brought into my life. And now that they have the same passion, I think I've seen Frozen 2, how many countless times, and Frozen 1 and everything like that. But I love Disney. I love the movies and everything like that. And so it's amazing to walk and see what they like, what they do. And it's just, I'm sure you see it with Riley and everyone like that. It's how big their eyes get. And I know you talked about this a couple times just on, because I hate Small World too. It's my least favorite ride in the parks. But
what that kid does on Small World blows me away. She loves it so much.
I think it's the song, it's the colors. There's so much going on, and it's awesome. And then your kids are there; they're having so much fun. It's an interesting place. I think one of the things I'm still learning is when I would go to the parks as a kid, I would always just want to go for hours. I want to get there at 7 o'clock in the morning, stay till 2 or 3. With the kids, you can't do that. So the first time we went, wasn't really good at that. Second time, still okay. Last time when we went last September, was getting better, and more time at the resorts, more breaks, things like that. It's different. It's different touring, I would say, than when you can just go. And you probably see it on your different types of trips, or if you're going on a photo trip versus if you're going down with the family and different things like that. So that's what's great about Disney, is you can have people from all over the world, different ways they want to see or experience the parks, and you can do every single way you want. So having kids definitely it adds. It doesn't take away, for sure.
Yeah, I was trying to see if I could pull up quickly a photo of her like doing a meet and greet, and I can't. But the first thing that I came up with was Riley with Shannon. Shannon's holding her. Our friend Shannon from Imagine X Years is holding her, and like,
yeah,
that's a lightsaber in Galaxy's Edge that's causing the glow.
Yeah, and
that look on her face.
Yeah.
And I always say to people, at this age, yeah, a lot of the Disney pieces now are for us because
Yeah,
she's not
for sure.
going to remember them, and I get that. But it doesn't mean that in the moment it's any less magical to her. And that's the part that I hope everybody can kind of really hold on to, is that, you know, in the moment, you know, sure, this, you know, she's not going to remember this.
Yeah.
But the fact that, like, her first Disney trip for her 8 months, we got to have a little photo session with Minnie in front of the Disneyland train station. Dan and I will never forget it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel you. To pass on that love and to see even at that 8-month-old, like take it in. Like, she really does take it in.
Yeah.
I feel that on such a cool and spiritual level, man. Because it's a great feeling to pass that on to your kids.
Because I think I get a lot of you're going to Disney again, because I think you have like there's like so many different layers of like Disney fandom. Whereas like you have like the one and done people, you have the people that go, and then you have people like us that are addicts and could live there if we could. And it's just like, well, why are you taking your 1-year-old? They're not going to remember it. They're not going to. I said, but it's those quick flashes of them, their eyes lighting up like you've never seen before. Them just enjoying something new for the first time. It makes everything worth it. The lines, the headaches, the cost. I mean, it's just, there's nothing that could go wrong.
Yeah, for sure. The first time she ever saw fireworks was Main Street. You know, there's just little things that we'll always kind of hold on to, and they'll always be really important. And it's cool now because when she visits, she sees the characters, and there's no. I really think that this is going to be a kid who's never scared of it.
Yeah.
She's so now a big part of it. You know, I'm lucky because of what I get to do for a living, and we're certainly blessed by that. But it's not strange to her.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that's just really cool, is that it's like second home to her. And I love that. I love that feeling. All right, man. So we were running a little short on like time here, and I want to get some other stuff in.
Okay, for sure.
One thing I really want to talk about, and I think you've kind of proven the point here for anybody that's been listening to our chat. Much like me, man, you're up on the Disney news. I know that you're a big fan of the Disney history, what's going on in the parks. You know, I do it because it's part of my job. You do it because it's part of a passion. I'm curious, man, would you ever consider stepping into a podcast or news outlet role or blogging this stuff? Because you clearly have a passion and a voice for it.
Yeah. No, I love Disney, obviously, through my Instagram, and then even at home. I think my wife was never more happy that I started this, because now I can talk to other people that love Disney and not have to bother her as much.
I feel that.
Yeah. And so like I listen to Disney podcasts. I mean, I would love to do something like that. I think it's one of the things where it's just when you can create things like this, and then you just make those relationships, and then it's just, it sounds awesome now.
But so it is something that you would like look at down the future and say, hey, if I can find the time and the place, you would do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you got the mindset for it, and I just wasn't sure if there was a reason you're like, I just don't have the time or whatever. But I just think that, you know, anybody who follows your account, you try to drop in tidbits here and there, and you know, you've got the eye for the current events. And I know that one of the things you want to talk about today, I almost feel like we're doing like a podcast showdown here. Like, how good are you actually at hosting a podcast, CJ?
Yeah.
Because this morning I got a message saying, hey, any chance we could talk about this current event that dropped today, and that Bob Iger is returning as CEO of the Disney company. Yeah. And I kind of was like, yeah, man, we could do this. I mean, I'm going to treat it like a podcast.
For sure.
So let's show people the chops. The big news. Obviously, the Disney company is going to be struggling right now, and there's a lot going on. Sorry.
I don't feel bad for Bob.
I kind of do, and I kind of look. This is the perfect storm here. All right. Yeah. I don't think that Bob was that Bob was necessarily 100% off in the sunset anyway. Yeah. So I think that whole idea of him being, you know, in retirement, that's a joke anyway. He's been very, very heavily involved. Yeah. I think this just helps take out the middleman. I think Bob now just gets to do what he wants to do. And and I think Chapek's kind of, you know. Yeah,
he's it's interesting, the whole timing of it. Just because you had Bob Iger, who I think when you look at it, I've heard rumors that he wants to potentially go into politics. So I think he saw everything that was happening in Asia, like the parks and everything shutting down and what it was going to do to his parks and everywhere over here. Whereas he just wanted to have this squeaky clean resume of everything that he touched did great. I mean, if you look at from them acquiring Star Wars and Marvel and everything else, like they've been a titan under his reign, and you have this whole COVID-19 situation happen, and it's really just changed all of our lives, and it's changed the parks indefinitely. So you kind of, and it's weird that he let Chapek kind of take like the brunt, which I think, if you look at what he's done as far as like from a guest recovery standpoint, so we had a trip booked in April. They came out with a free dining plan for anyone that booked and had to rebook from, I think it was like June 1st through the end of September. Whereas if you saw previous what the free dining, the quote free dining package was previous, there's like 3 dates and you had to travel on those dates. I mean, now we're into like post Galaxy's Edge where they've spent the $2 billion and now they have to start getting their money back on it. And it's just, obviously free dining eventually is going to go away because there's going to be more demand than they need to get people into the parks. And so you have Chapek there that he did a great job with the parks and resorts of trying to do the guest recovery. And I saw what Shane was saying. I mean, it's a tough spot because if Iger was in there from the start, they'd probably be calling for his head, and no one was going to be able to go in that situation and do a good job. This
is a gauntlet. This is a gauntlet the company's never seen before. Let me also, as a travel planner who that is the main means that I make an income,
yeah.
all travel media, all pictures, all things I do kind of lead to me being a travel planner. Free dining is not all that. It is the word free that gets us really hyped up. Let me tell every single person in this chat, anybody that watches it, this is not a self-promotion. There are tons of incredible travel agents out there. I'm sure many of you work with one. Don't have them hunting down free dining for you. Save the effort, save the money, get a 30% package or 20% package discount. 9 times out of 10, it's a better deal, and you can buy as much food as you want with the savings, I promise. Yes, Shane is hitting the nail on the head. They charge you rack rate on the room. You must buy tickets with the package. There's so many things that they loop in. Where's 20 to 30% savings? You can eat until you literally would be rolled around and still not spend the same amount of money. I'm telling you, I do the math for a living for people. So don't get hung up on the free dining thing, because yes, I think for people who really want to try a dining plan, or they know that they're going to eat. I still have clients who I've had this conversation with who still book free dining. Whatever. But yeah, book those package discounts and don't get scared by the fact that all these other things are happening, or that free dining is only lasting for 2 or 3 days here and there. And that, as you said, the check-in and check-out dates is just so sporadic. Don't worry about that stuff. Focus on the package discounts. And the best thing of all, is plan out as far as you possibly can. That's the cheapest way to do it. So sorry, I know it sounds like a whole lot of self-promotion, but I feel you, man. People are getting really scared about these packages, these discounts, the free dining going away. And I promise you, Disney is, they want when all of us get back, they want every room in that entire theme park filled. So they will drop some serious discounts to make it happen.
Yeah, I don't think because I don't think, I think they're projecting June 1st is when they want people to come back. I think depending on how things go, maybe halfway through May, they might start doing soft openings. Because I listen to the Diz and other podcasts where it makes sense where if Disney has to start stocking up on food and everything else and bring back the furloughed cast members, it's not going to be an on-off switch next day where the parks are just going to come back to normal. I think in general, the parks are going to be different for the next probably 6 months to a year and a half. I mean, we've seen everything from potentially doing temperature checks on people to who knows what type of second stage of testing they're going to have to do. But it's going to change everything. So it's, who knows what's going to happen, say June 1st. I mean, because they can't just go and have however many people they can fit on the whole property start going. And I just
This
don't know.
is total speculation. This is not me knowing anything. This is just me being the conspiracy theorist kind of guy that I am. I think international park visitors do not happen till fall of this year. I don't think we see international tour groups, international visitors. No international visitors to the parks, probably till fall. I haven't heard that anywhere, but that is one of the things that in a lot of different ways can be limited. They just don't sell the tickets internationally. They don't really get them sold. If they're not sold internationally, people can't buy them internationally. They're not coming. So I think that's a big thing that they can kind of control in a lot of different ways, is how the international crowds come in. So I do think you're right. I think in a lot of different ways, things will be staggered once the gates kind of do start opening. All right, so, man, we're going to creep right up onto it. I have to hear your favorite things. Got to hear your favorite things.
I brought them. Okay.
Oh, we got a show and tell. Yes.
I do. So as you can tell, I call this my my Disney tuxedo shirt. So for those of you that don't know, this is a Jack Skellington shirt. So Nightmare Before Christmas is my favorite Disney movie of all time. I don't know whether to classify it as a Christmas movie or as a Halloween movie. I think it's a little bit of both. And one of my favorite characters, so I got Oogie Boogie here. So I got him from one of those sets. I think my daughters probably have like 30 of those little 6-piece figure sets from the Disney store. So my daughter, who plays this mostly all of them, finally said, I don't want Oogie Boogie anymore. You can have them. So I was like, okay, we'll take them. And then I know you recently been asking everyone about their favorite coffees, right?
Yes, I'm digging it. Like, it's like one of those subculture things where I think a lot of us Disney files also love some coffee because we're used to the early morning park stuff and grabbing our Starbucks. So I'm loving that most people have had a favorite cup to share with me. So I'm always down.
Yeah, so I have, so I didn't bring a cup, and another one of my big Disney merchandise things is always the cup. So I think I have 3 or 4 Nightmare Before Christmas mugs. Unfortunately, those are all at work, but I will show you some coffee. So I've got 2 things. So most of my Canadian people will know this. I don't, have you heard of Tim Hortons?
Yeah, Tim Hortons.
So we have Tim Hortons, which is, that's a good, just like all around coffee. And one, which I don't know if anyone, maybe one person in the chat will know because I saw my wife's uncle in here. So yeah, this is a nice Muskoka maple coffee from Huntsville, Ontario. So it's an awesome coffee, small batch, made in the Muskokas. Has a little bit of a maple taste, so Canadian maple in there too. You don't need to add anything to it; it's just awesome. So it's those 2 are like my big go-tos, I would say.
So Max coming in from the chat because we did not ask this in the very beginning. Where are you from?
So I am from Buffalo. So I live in Buffalo, New York now. My wife's
there's
Canadian.
your answer, Max. He's close. He's not quite Canadian, but
yes, almost. My wife's Canadian. My kids are half Canadian. All my in-laws and family are Canadian. So yeah. So
there you go. There's the Canadian connection. Yes. I knew Buffalo. I should have gotten it out there because I did say that you were a Bills fan, and I didn't actually. I did not specify. And I should have.
That's okay.
All right, so your favorite hockey team, which we actually did, I also did tease a little bit that you are a big-time hockey enthusiast. What's your favorite team?
So I'm a Rangers fan, so we haven't really been good since '94. I mean, we had the cup runs a couple of years ago and things like that. But no, I'm not a Sabres fan.
That was Shane's question, so I guess he's quick to defend to say not a Sabres fan.
Their owner, the Pagulas, I mean, they're okay people. I mean, they should with all their draft picks. The same thing like the Edmonton's had the last couple of years where they've had all these high picks but nothing. But I do like Jack Eichel and I do like Dahlin, so they've got a good start. And the Stars, they're okay. Hockey in Dallas. Yeah.
I like how Max is from Florida, so he's like, yeah, I can tell that you're a northerner because you have a basement.
Oh, yes. Yeah, no, I guess it floods too much, right, in Florida?
Yeah, I don't even think they can dig into that ground. I think everything, as you just dig, it just keeps filling up.
Sinking? Yeah.
All right, so I want to make sure we get shameless plug time in there because it's somebody who does so much to highlight other photographers. So you're here. You know that Will has an Instagram, and you know where you can go to follow him. So go on over, follow his account. If you don't know, it's also here somewhere.
Yeah.
But also Will Talks Disney, so please head on over, see him, check him out. Look at the great photographers that he highlights, the community aspect that he is clearly all about. And I know for a fact, shoot him a DM and say hi. Like, don't just like the pretty photos, but reach out to the guy behind the account and get to know him. And man, I'm so glad that I got to put you in a situation you're a little bit, you know, a little bit different from what you're used to.
For sure.
You're not used to being highlighted, so I'm glad I got a chance to highlight you.
I appreciate it. No, it's been, I would say, from running my account, and I mean, this community has been awesome. It's crazy for people. Like a lot of you guys, like you have 8,000 followers. Shane has 20,000 followers. There's a ton of people out there that have all these crazy following accounts, but they're all real people. And you reach out, you send them a message, and they respond. And one of the coolest things is I'm still trying to get into photography, trying to go from the featurer to start taking photos. And so I put a post out there probably a couple months ago, just putting like what camera I thought would be decent. And I tagged like all of my favorite photographers. There's like probably 12 of them. I don't know how many in there. And they each responded back saying, hey, you should do this. Hey, you shouldn't do that. And I even was able to message Shane back and forth. And then he gave me some great advice, and then just even what books to read. So it's crazy. This community, I think it's hard on the photo accounts because all you see is the photos. You don't necessarily see like everything else that goes behind it. And I think that's where I try to, when I post, try to put a little tidbit about someone, why I liked a photo. Just because, like I said, there's so much that goes behind these photos, so much time in the editing. And I really like that Instagram live you did where you showed, hey, here's what my photo looked like. I think it was from the Japan pavilion, where like you see the first shot and it's like dark and you're like, oh crap, I just came home and I have this dark photo. What am I going to do now? And then everything that goes into those photos. Yes, we will get to the shot of the day. But it's just you got to highlight these people because you guys do such amazing work, and it's always been my thing. I never want to take credit. I never wanted to make it seem like I'm taking credit. And I always want people to go see these accounts because, like I said, there's hundreds and hundreds of other photos that these people are doing, and you have to go check out their work.
I appreciate it, man. There's, as I said early in the very beginning when we talked about how you come up with these things, accounts like yours that show appreciation for us is a big reason as to why we're able to stay inspired to keep doing stuff.
Thank you.
And why I'm able to like say, you know, I literally, the theme of the past like couple days, because Shane, we were talking about this yesterday with Ashley, you know, it's like become a mantra for photographer life too, is don't delete in camera. And it's not, it goes beyond just the camera. It's like a lot of things can be edited and adjusted. Life things, the way you look at different things, the way you run your account, whatever it may be. Don't delete in camera. Adjust as you go. There's always post editing. There's always a way to clean things up. But man, I appreciate the message and what you do to kind of keep that community spread.
Yeah, no problem.
I really do. We're going to get cut off by Instagram. You know I'm not going to let that happen. So with all that said, there's one thing left for me to say. Love each other. Make a splash. Have a zippity-doo-dah day. And Will Talks Disney. Thanks for hanging out with us, man. I really appreciate it.
No problem. And,
all right, brother.
Hey, sorry. Whiskey.
Oh, whiskey. Yes. Max. See, he didn't forget you. I forgot. Whiskey. Whiskey, Max.
Yes. Tequila. No. Too many bad nights.
So there you go. You got a day off from your tequila because Will knew you've been getting shots of tequila. So there you go. Whiskey, Max. Whiskey. All right, buddy. It was great talking to you.
See you,
I'll talk soon. See ya. Bye.
Bye.